All right. So we're going to move into hearing from Eric Fitzgerald from Capstone. Just want to make sure you're on, Eric. Where are you?
I'm here and ready.
There you are. Okay, great. Well, I know Capstone's doing a lot of interesting things in the content side. And so I know you're going to give us a big sketch, but what I want to comment on is that what I really like about what you have thought through as a company is that there's a lot of random lesson building going on. And a lot of it in the last year has been on the fly. And our research has showed, Eric, that teachers are spending an inordinate amount of time. Like, we did our survey starting in 2015. It was like lots of time. And then it scaled down. And then the pandemic happened and so many more schools got on board with issuing devices. And suddenly our numbers from this last year's survey shows this huge amount of time just searching for things, trying to sift through everything. Is it, what is it? Blah, 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 blah. So the content that you're doing is a gift to education, I believe. So I'm going to give it over to you. Have at it. You can take over the screen.
Yeah. I really appreciate it, Leilani. Just great session again for this one. Amazing content. And I just want to thank all the speakers that have gone before me and Leilani and Doug for putting this all together, because what a great learning going on here, and love how everyone's adapting. So thanks for the intro. I'm Eric Fitzgerald. I'm the Vice President of Sales at Capstone, and we're really excited about what we have been doing. But I think, like all of us, and like we've been hearing on this webinar, this pandemic has sort of pushed us forward in a lot of ways, and I'm excited to share ways that we've sort of been trying to keep up with customers, and we've been pushed forward and grown into this. So as I mentioned, Capstone is the company, and we're a publisher, and I'll sort of give you an overview of who we are. But before I go into sort of the details, I want to share with you what I love about working with Capstone and what I think our customers love about us. The first is sort of these beliefs that we have and really live by. The first being sort of this logo, making learning fun since '91. And in our case, we do try and be really engaging. We're all about engagement with kids and connection to kids. And on my next slide, I'll sort of give you some examples of that. But there's a bigger piece to making learning fun, which is this second point, which is reading is for everyone. And we, at our heart, believe that every student can be reached. Every student is a reader. And sort of the flip side is that we believe every person, including everyone on this call, is a reluctant reader. So if I give you my laser printer manual and say read it to cover, I am pretty sure most people on this call will become reluctant readers. My wife is an avid reader, and I don't want to read what she's reading, but it's exactly what she wants to read. And so that's a key tenet of what we do at Capstone, is really make sure that we're connecting content in the way that the person wants to be connected with. And we are an educationally focused publisher, but that doesn't mean it can't be fun, and it doesn't mean it can't be engaging. In fact, we kind of believe the opposite. It should be more engaging, and we should have multiple angles to approach a topic. And so reading is for everyone is about making reading fun for everyone, for us. Also, our offices are in Mankato, Minnesota, and Minneapolis, Minnesota. And so during some of the troubles, we've had recently, that was very close to home for us. We have employees that live a block away from the police station that had some pretty big riots going on. But I'm proud to say we have been really inclusive and have really hold ourselves to a high accountability as far as being representative of all cultures and people, and having windows and mirrors and doors to make sure people see themselves and hear their voices and hear their stories in what we do. So that's kind of that's our belief system, and I think it's important to what we do. And then let me talk a little more about the details of how we go about our daily lives. So on the left side, you'll see some of the brands that are tied to Capstone. And I'm only pointing this out because we're in your school. You know us well. You may not know that you know us. So as an example, Scholastic book fairs, we're a lot of the books in a Scholastic book fair. We're also on Amazon Alexa and Google in a lot of their student and child areas. We're also, if you've seen a book with WB characters or DC Comics, Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman. That's probably us. Sports Illustrated for Kids, Smithsonian, along with some really incredible digital products. So we are for sure a large book publisher. But over the last 10 years, we've also shifted to be a pretty gigantic digital content provider for schools. So Pebble Go is Capstone, as is Capstone Interactive ebooks, which is a pretty large collection of ebooks. So I guess the point there is you know us probably in many different ways, but I just want to call out sort of what those ways might be for all of us on the call. So I just want to do a quick run through of our products and then talk about sort of what has changed during the pandemic for us to really connect with the shift that is happening for teachers and students and parents and educators. So first, and I'll go into a demo of each of these, but one of the core products is Pebble Go, and Pebble Go is currently purchased by 6 states statewide, and also by many school districts. And those of you in Maryland, you are probably familiar with Pebble Go. We're in all but about 15% of the schools in Maryland have Pebble Go. So I guess the point is you sort of already have a pretty big offering from Capstone already in place in most of the schools in Maryland. Obviously Pennsylvania is same story, not quite as many, but and then Pebble Go Next is the middle grade database, and I will show this in more detail, but basically we're trying to cover the waterfront of all the core curriculum items at each grade. And then finally we have Capstone Interactive, which is an ebook collection that has 3,500 live voice audio ebooks. And in that collection, we have, like I was saying, we're addressing the state standards, and we are addressing the needs of teachers and the topics that need to be taught, but at the same time trying to make sure that there are multiple angles. So as an example to that, we have a physics book, sort of written like you might imagine a physics book. We also have the physics of skateboarding. We also have fiction stories that talk about little girls and their adventures with physics. So we come from various perspectives and various genres to approach the same state standard and the same topic, and really try and make it more engaging for kids. So from those base products, during the pandemic, we had a huge outcry for quality content. And Leilani, I think you hit it right ahead. We see studies that show 7.4 hours is the time that the average American teacher spends per week collecting content and then building it into lessons. And so I don't think we can solve that problem at Capstone, but I do think we can shave an hour or 2 or 3 off those each individual's week. And the net result of that as a school leader is, multiply 3 hours a week or 2 hours a week by the number of educators that are working really hard. And I know there's been a lot of talk already about just the struggle for people to keep up with the shift here and the stress that educators have been experiencing during the pandemic. We think we can help make a very significant difference for individuals, but the net total of that for a district is just a massive gain in human resources, and also, sustainability for those educators that are working so hard right now. So with that, we created CapstoneConnect, and CapstoneConnect is us taking all of our 25 years of content creation and really trying to reach into our vault of, and it's a massive vault of content and quality educationally based materials. And can we make a way to easily surface it and make it available to educators around the country and kids and parents? And so the net result of that during this period was the creation of CapstoneConnect, and it's reaching into those different assets that we have. As I say, every school on this call has a huge collection of Capstone, whether digital or print products, and we just want to make that easier to use in a symmetric sort of scenario, like bring it up on a whiteboard, or if everyone's got a device, share it on Pear Deck and have instant screencast abilities. But also in that asymmetric scenario where an educator is trying to build a lesson for the next hour or the next week, to make sure that we're in a situation where a district level curriculum team can be building lessons and exemplars of lessons, or an end user can easily do that as well. So with that, just to give you that concept, we put CapstoneConnect all together. All of our content is available. And then what we looked at is, and I think there's been a lot of talk about LMSs on this event already. What we tried to do is, let's look at those learning management tools. And what we find interesting is, a district will have a meeting with a leader in a district and they say, we're all Canvas here. That's all we do. And then about 5 minutes into the conversation, you hear, well, we also do Seesaw for the primary grades. And then a little while later you hear, but the teachers use Google Docs a lot. And then you hear a little more about how they're using Flipgrid or Pear Deck or all the various really fun, engaging ed tech tools. And so basically, as we were looking at this problem and trying to come up with solutions for folks, what we decided is we have to be Switzerland. We have to play well with every application, because there is no single configuration, even but from fourth grade teacher to fourth grade teacher in the exact same building, there's a radically different approach to integrating ed tech and content. And so our goal was to really get this base level integration and technology so that it could be universal and easily used and adopted by educators. We don't want to change how people are doing what they're doing. We want to make exactly whatever they're doing better and more effective for kids and more engaging. And so we looked at some of the, there's over 100 LMS platforms, including a lot of school districts consider Google Classroom as their LMS. So we want to make sure we were including that. I mentioned Buncee and Flipgrid and Google Classroom. We want to make sure that we're not stifling teachers and sort of the ability for people to really use some of those fun new tools and connect with kids using the latest technology. So we want to incorporate all those platforms, as well as the several hundred more a year that come out, and some of them come and some of them go. But we want to be in a position where the content from Capstone is able to fall right in line with what folks are doing and how they're doing it. And so from there, we created Connect, and we made it so that you can take this giant library of Capstone content that is vetted, high quality, and legal to share, and put that into whatever platform and tool and process a district or a school or an individual teacher are using. So just to kind of give you an overall idea before I go into the product. Again, it's taking that Pebble Go product, which, as I mentioned, in Maryland, almost every school in Maryland has Pebble Go today as we sit here. Pebble Go Next, again, very high penetration in the Maryland and the Pennsylvania schools. Read More, Spanish, Capstone Interactive, and then finally, over 1,600 really high quality lesson plans are sort of in Connect and available to any teacher that is in a subscribing school. So some pretty straightforward navigation, and I'll actually show you in the live products a little more interesting. And because of the rapid iteration that has happened, we have actually have some new features coming that aren't in what I'm going to show you, but I'll show them to you. Actually, they might have come out last night. We'll look. But the ability to search for content by specific Lexile, ATOS, or guided reading levels is something we just added, as is the ability to see some preview information on each book. So with that, I'm going to jump over and show my screen. And Leilani, I got you. Are any thoughts as I transition over, or directions that I should hit?
No, I'll make sure that I can see what you're doing on your screen as you're sharing. But I just want to comment that there's ideologically there's a thought in terms of the academics of things that you might go in two directions in as a district. You might say to yourself, we need atomized bits and pieces versus we need full courseware, which most people in school districts, courseware is, it's the things that are built out so that they're modularized presentments of the full lesson plan already done, right? So the kids just sort of working their way through their, gaming as they go, and teachers just sort of gate which module the student gets. Okay, now you're allowed through the gate to the next module. The atomized content world is the world that teachers are most familiar with. That's how they built lessons forever. And it's what they're comfortable with because they get to sort of knit together the methodology that they think is going to work for their individual pack of students, right? So what you're presenting is solidly in that atomized content world, which is easier for administrators to get teachers to be willing to use. And the jump is really the difference in its professional grade exhibit name, of what you're showing. So let me just give you a characteristic. So the difference would be a scan of, some scrap of old coffee stained textbook that you're running a file of intellectual property laws on as a teacher, putting that in there, retyping it in or whatever, versus professional grade stuff that does something. And Chris is going to talk about this a little bit more later, but things that do widgety animation-y things or have an image that has been vetted through as quality, like the little lion that you're showing. That picture could be many different types of, way a lion could look, but that one has been chosen, shows a full body angle, right? So there's reasons for everything you've done. And that's saving teacher time because they, like I said, they don't run afoul of intellectual property law, which is a huge legal consideration. Schools all over the country get sued all the time. So anyway, I'm going to turn it back to you, but that's really the world that you're operating in. And like I said, it's the most acceptable, easiest transition world, but it's a step up in terms of what you're reducing in your liabilities.
That's a great point, Leilani. I appreciate you bringing that up. Yes, and that is something I didn't mention before, but we are in a unique position as Capstone in that we built these platforms and these tools, and we are, granting that license. We also own the copyright on all the content. And so what we have in this scenario is a really special, I think we're a one-of-one kind of scenario on this in what we're doing, in that we own the content and the platform. And so we can be very liberal and very open as to how we share and what we share. And that's a very unique position that we're in, and we're excited to be in that position. So I'll just give a quick run over of what I was saying. So let's go science. How about life science? Sounds fun. Leilani was mentioning a lion. So I've chosen adaptions in Pebble Go. And again, this is the pre-K to 3 database of the curriculum based content. And you can see I have the ability to do live voice audio. And this is huge for early readers, emergent readers, or pre-readers, in that we can model fluency and we can model pronunciation. You'll also notice that it's highlighting each word as it's read.
Is where a plant or animal lives.
And the purpose of that is exactly like if you were teaching your own child one-on-one to read. You would read the book and you would use your finger to show what word you're reading. And that is a critical part of learning to read. And so we're trying to emulate that in a scenario that a single teacher could work with multiple kids and do. You'll also notice that all of the curriculum and academic vocabulary words are listed here.
Habitat, the natural place,
and again, full live voice audio. And then the tabs are sort of the easy navigation for this content. And if you read your state standards on life cycles and adaptions, you'll see that these tabs really emulate the core divisions of how the content is broken out for that subject. Another thing to note, I can jump right over to Spanish.
Algunas adaptaciones ayudan a los animales a atraer a sus padres.
And we have full Spanish and the ability to translate. So if I'm an English native and I'm trying to learn Spanish, I can use this to decode by flipping back and forth. Also, if I'm a Spanish speaker, I can keep up and go the other way, use this to decode English. So that's Pebble Go. Super simple. This really covers, when we run correlations against state standards, this covers the vast majority, 95+% of the state standards for the lower grades. We also have some skills here, so we can cite articles. We can print or use the whole article if I want to do student created content, they can actually take pieces of our content and use that in a way to create their own. We've got activities, and then each article also has one or more videos. So we can do some really engaging tools or multimedia. And sorry, that distracted me. He's so fun to watch. So that's Pebble Go. And as I mentioned, Pebble Go is a tool that is used for pre-K through 3. And then I can jump right over and go to Pebble Go Next, which is our 3 through 6. And again, content, I'll do science again. We're on a theme here. Life science, let's do biological. Everyone loves to learn about bacteria. What you'll see here is a much more mature approach, but still a lot of the same core features. We've still got
Bacteria are a type.
The ability for it to be read to me. This is part of that sort of meeting kids where they are, being all inclusive and making sure that we are keeping everybody along and meeting them where they are. The other thing is this is all 508 compliant, which is Section 508 of the Americans with Disabilities Act. And that's a critical piece that not only does this work with screen readers, we also do a lot of work to make sure that the content is addressable for kids with dyslexia or color blindness. It actually, 508 compliance rules actually help kids, and up to 25% of the kids fall under some kind of challenge that makes it difficult for them to connect with content. And we are compliant with that, those requirements. So I think we're very inclusive from a technology perspective as well. Just to jump over and show you the ebooks. Here's our ebook platform. And we've got over 3,500 ebooks in this platform. Again, you can see we're addressing the same curriculum need, but we're doing it through multiple different directions. So we've got fiction, nonfiction, we've got graphic novels, photo illustrated, all the genres. So really strong tools in here. And I'll just play one of our books here to give you a sense of what our ebooks look like.
A dime. Dimes are one of the many coins people use for money. The front of it.
So you can see all of our ebooks also have live voice audio, 100% of them. And again, we believe that's a really important for inclusiveness and modeling that fluency. So that's kind of the component parts. And as I mentioned, we're going to cover the vast majority of all the content areas. But the other piece that we have done, and these platforms are already in the school, almost all the schools on this call already have one or more of these products available to them. Sort of the new work that Capstone has done is to create CapstoneConnect. And what we're doing with Connect is really making a way. So as I sort of showed you everything, you can see we're very student forward, right? We're trying to connect with kids and meet them where they are and really engage them. What CapstoneConnect is really our approach at helping the educator to embed and include our products more easily. And so this is sort of an adult experience, but wrapped around those student experiences that we've been talking about. And so the simplest way to approach this is I can just go in here and I'll do energy. And what I get is from those database articles and all the literature and all the trade books and nonfiction books, I'm able to come up with a list of items that meet that requirement. And from here, I can sort of filter it. I can choose, and it looks like that did deploy last night. I can choose what reading level I want it to fall under. I can narrow it down by what type of item it is. But what I get is a list of books and articles and teacher's guides that all sort of meet the requirement of my search. So I haven't shown you a teacher's guide yet. I'll do that really quickly here. So here is a literacy and content area teacher's guide. So we're really trying to approach both. You can see we've got all sorts of tools to share learning, vocabulary, some discussion, some critical thinking, writing exercises. So really a high level focus teacher's guide here around this particular topic. And there are over 1,600 teacher's guides of this quality in CapstoneConnect. I can also go over here and find an ebook or a Pebble Go or a Pebble Go Next article. And if I want to launch the one on energy, I can just click it and it launches and I'm able to screencast with you immediately and off we go. The other thing I can do though, is if I wanted to share that article, let's say we're working remotely, or if I'm trying to build a lesson for next week, and I can copy this link. And from there, now I have this link and I can drop it into a Google Doc or a Canvas lesson or a Seesaw lesson or whatever I'd like. And just to show you sort of the experience, I'm going to drop this in to the chat. And if you would, just click on the link that just popped up in the chat, and there's something really special and powerful I want you to see. So I'll give everyone a second to click. And what you'll see is that you just opened that energy article that I wanted you to see, and you did not have to log in with a username or a password. And that's kind of the power of what we're doing with Connect. And that's, as I mentioned, being the publisher and the platform provider, we can sort of give you that kind of access and give you the power to give that to kids and teachers and parents instantly. So by embedding this link in anything that I'm doing, I can instantly launch that link for the end user, whether it's a student or a parent, and that pops right up. The same thing happens with the ebooks and the Pebble Go Next articles. So that gives you a sense of what we're doing. We're really trying to be Switzerland and give people quick access to high quality materials that are legal to share in this way, and let them embed them into anything and everything they're doing. So the other thing I want to show you is just around this state search capability. So we can also, with CapstoneConnect, jump in and do searching by standard. And so as an example, I could do Maryland, and we've been on a science kick. Let's keep going. Science for second grade. And what returns to me is the Maryland science standards for second grade, written just like the Maryland standards are written. And so I can go here from a standards perspective, and I can find books on Earth systems that meet the state standards for Maryland, and the same is true for any state, and also the national standards. And here I have second grade appropriate material that I can go and grab the link as I did before. So I'll send you a raindrops journey in the chat. And that gives you an idea of sort of the power and the speed of how I can share thousands and thousands of content pieces instantly. And feel free to click on that link. So that is CapstoneConnect in a nutshell. I think, again, what we're trying to do is really work into the systems and processes that people are already using. We're not trying to change how things are done. There's no big deployment of software or training. We are really just trying to take the simplest way of sharing, and simple for the sharer, but also for the sharee, to use and integrate that content into their practice. So that's what I have. Love to deal with any questions or answer anything. And I appreciate your time, Leilani, for putting us all together. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the links. I was checking them out. This is an exciting individual piece. And I want to mention that, Learning Council has been fielding for the EduJedi Leadership Society some queries coming in from districts now asking us to audit their entire academic, curriculum. And of course, the first thing we ask is like, what kind of audit are you looking at? Because if you're just looking to align any material to what your standards are, we're not interested. If you're trying to figure out how digital it is, then the first step is you got to do an inventory. And that's where a lot of districts fall down the ladder, right? They're like, well, inventory of all of our stuff, that's impossible. We can't possibly do that. Well, then you're not organized enough for teachers to save some time, right? Because, like Central Bucks was talking about this morning, they've been bringing order to everything. So I'm sure they even have file tagging standards, like how you tag something should have a protocol. If you're just going to file it off in your OneDrive account, it better at least have good tagging. And then you arrive at the moment as a district where you're like, searchability, continuity of operations, we lose a teacher, we're dead in the water for that subject for the year. Because even if we bring in some other teacher, they're going to start from ground zero because no one can figure out somebody else's filing. And so that's when you arrive at the point where you're like, hey, Eric, hey, we need something that's pro grade, drag and drop. Like,
Yes.
Because we have to have continuity of operations, especially during a pandemic. Hello. We don't know what's going to happen with variants of this thing. And, so we have to get serious about the structure and architecture of the digital thingies that are floating around that are supposed to be pushed out and pulled back, like to the kids. So love what you're doing. It's super awesome. I always think of it in my model. Like I said, it's like, it's atomized bits and pieces so that you can still have some sense of I'm creating this from a teacher level, which is the acceptability level for most teachers. So
absolutely. Thank you, my friend.
Yeah, thank you, my friend.